Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. Happy holidays to you and yours, wherever you may be watching and listening. My name is Joe Kuzma. I am joined here by my co-host, my colleague, my pal, my cohort, my partner in crime, a man who is quite Scrooge-like in his own ways, but found a way to enjoy the holidays. Somehow, Brian, we had Festivus right on our doorstep there and an airing of grievances that we missed, but we could air those today if we'd like. Otherwise, my friend, how you doing?
I'm fine. I guess now I don't have a beard or a mustache for the guy who said, what kind of guy has a beard with no mustache?
Did you get too close to the campfire like David and Njoku?
Yeah, but no, it's nothing like that. I just, every now and then this gets too long and I have to trim it down. So I got no mohawk. I got no goatee. I just got a little bit of fuzz.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something, I was hoping I could find it, with Njoku, actually, the Cleveland Browns social media team, they put out like a thing and guys were hanging like the stockies in, and Njoku's like, why did I have to be so close to the fire? With the fireplace in the home and the Christmas tree and that was pretty funny. So anyways, that's part of the scenario. We had not a post-game show, so we got kind of a combo. It kind of bleeds in here together, looking ahead to Week 17's matchup. Steelers at the Seattle Seahawks. And the Steelers, they got some work to do because they lost some games they probably should have won earlier this season. Still an opportunity, though, for Pittsburgh, be a 10-win team? And we were like, how is the path to that even possible? You're going to throw a lot of people who are like, Mason Rudolph, he's a bum, this and that. And I forever stayed by my steadfast. I held to my morals here and my takes. But I'm not sitting here to say I told you so. I just kind of knew that he would be able to operate in that 200-some yards. Can he throw a couple touchdowns? Not turn over the football? And now we're looking down the gun of... he had the best, maybe the best in 2 seasons, this year and last year's, of any quarterback that the Steelers have put out there. It was a competent-looking offense, and he may have the reins to do it again after a 34-11 drubbing of the Cincinnati Bengals.
So, when's the last time we scored 34 points?
I gotta look it up, man. See, I had all these things available if we would have done this like right away. And
Let's just say it's a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So, I am not going to sit here and try and say, oh, Mason Rudolph is definitely the next franchise quarterback. He played really well. That's it. It's all over. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Good to go, as some of our fan base is doing. At the same time, I'm also going to say very clearly, he gave us the best quarterback performance that we have seen in 2 years, and as certainly better than any individual performance that either Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett has put up this year, with better results, more points. So you can't really argue with that, right? It's right there in front of you. And my mind is, if he can keep doing it, hey, great. And for the guy who was like, oh, what are you talking about? He absolutely has something to lose. He didn't. He had nothing to lose because his career was over regardless. So it's either you go balls to the wall, right, and just let it all hang out, or you're done anyway. He even said it. What am I going to be doing next year? Commercial real estate or playing football? He had nothing to lose because he felt like he was done already. So you go out and you play as free as you can, knowing the worst thing that happens is I'm in the exact same boat I was at before this.
Yeah, okay. So the Steelers scored 37 against the Chargers in a loss, a 41-37 loss. That was a primetime game on November 21st of 2021. If you remember, there were some shootouts that were occurring there. That was very similar.
Where's the graphic?
Bush. Yeah, hold on a second. We could do this. Matt's with Joe. I'm trying to go back even a little further because, that was that the first year for Matt Canada in the offense? And then you got to go back 2020. They put up 38 on the Eagles. This is the COVID season. 38-29. That's the infamous Chase Claypool 4-touchdown game. And then 38 on the Cleveland Browns. That was right after that. So they went 4-0 and 5-0, 37 again, but in a loss in the wild card game, the Cleveland Browns, 36 against the Bengals. And actually, most of their better performances have been against the Bengals. That was 36-10 on November 15th. That was their ninth straight in a row. They put up a trio of 28-point games as well and got close there with the Texans, the Ravens, and then the Colts was I think that get-right game after losing 2 or 3 in a row when Matt Ryan was still there with the Colts. So you got to go all the way back to 2020 because that was the only game they went over 30 in 2021. They got close a couple of times, and let me see. So you had that Chargers game, and then you had 29 against the Bears and 28 against the Vikings. It is an offense that has mightily struggled, and I know, by the way, before we forget, Brian, support the sponsor here, Forever Collectibles, sponsoring today's show, and the swag that we got, the T-shirts. So if you see them, go on over, give them a follow at FOCO USA on all of their various. Oh, Brian's got the other. Hold on a second. You got the other Christmas shirt there too. Didn't want to forget you're holding it upside down, sideways. There we go. I love that shirt. Not that I don't like mine. Mine, I got mine here. It says, "Dear Santa, all I want is for the Steelers to win the Super Bowl." And then at the very bottom somewhere it says, "P.S. I've been good."
and what did I tell you?
You said not a chance in hell, I believe, or something.
I said you ain't been that good.
Haven't been that good. Yeah, it'll take a small miracle, right? So, and that's kind of where we're at with this and talking about the Steelers have had their best offensive outputs against, the Bengals, they couldn't cover a blanket or whatever the comments that are coming out there about how bad the Bengals defense is. And yeah, Kenny Pickett had his best game. And this is after getting rid of Matt Canada too. I understand that the Bengals were a get right, but with Mitch Trubisky, yeah, two. You had the Arizona Cardinals and New England Patriots that had 2 wins each, and they couldn't do anything against these teams. And these were bad teams, and these were bad teams that they also had the opportunity to play at home. So I don't really want to hear, well, it was just the Bengals, because they weren't able to do this against these other bum teams for the most part.
Let's take one step back.
Yeah.
Patriots didn't have a bum defense. Right, their defense
not entirely.
Was their defense better than the Bengals defense?
Yes,
unequivocally yes.
Especially against
the Arizona Cardinals defense better than the current version of the Bengals defense? Probably. That one's a little closer to call. I can tell you that as I was sitting in the stadium, surrounded by people who were just agog, going, "What team showed up? Where did this guy come from? If we'd have played him the last 3 games, would we be 10-5 now or whatever?" All those people, and sitting next to them, I should send you this picture of my brother so you could throw it in here. So rivals the crying Bengals lady. Anyway, my brother sitting next to me with a sad, sad face, and people asking him, is Mason Rudolph really this good, or are the Bengals just this bad? And my brother goes, "We're just this."
Yeah, I'm kind of buying that one, brother. Let me catch you here in 1 second because I've got here we go. So yeah, what was this team? Let me rewind. There were a lot of feel-good stories. I know, the end of this game, they play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they're following Mason around with the camera. Yep. And I said, no, they didn't. Are you serious? And go check out social media. I posted it over on the X, formerly known as Twitter. So you got Mason, like you said. Did he have anything to lose? Well, he didn't have to go out there and play he could have played scared. He could have played safe. But instead, he went out there, and it's leave no doubt as to your talents or your skills or your ability. Now, there's a lot of people who've already grabbed the torch and took Mike Tomlin's press conference out of context, out of quote. He said it's the same preparation as last week, which they ended up ruling Kenny out. This gives Mike Tomlin an out. I know it's gutless, but you don't want to destroy anything you're building with Kenny. But quietly, I believe this reminds me of like Kendrick Green playing center. We're gonna let's hold off on this. But at the same time, you had a great game and it's not like Hall of Fame. There wasn't 4 touchdowns. It wasn't 500 yards passing. It's just we've seen some really bad offensive displays, some bad quarterbacking. 17 of 27, 63% completed, 290 yards. I wish he would have got the full 300, but they got super conservative, and they didn't need to do anything different. Just run the ball, run out the clock, right?
And to be fair, he was 2 overthrows away from 2 more touchdowns.
Oh yeah, he left some plays out there.
Left some plays out there.
Surely. So, if he would have been playing more than once in the last 2 years, I think he hits Deontay Johnson for a wide open touchdown. I think that might have been a 3rd down play. It was just, or maybe even a 2nd down. It was just like, oh, and they all knew it. They were out of sync because different quarterbacks, different timing, different rhythm. George Pickens, he made look like a freaking star. 4 receptions, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 big play touchdowns, and also the how in the hell did he keep his feet in bounds play. That was just incredible. It's nice to see somebody that could deliver the ball. It's nice to see somebody that was able to have a higher rate of completing on 3rd down. The Steelers were 50%. They were 7 of 14. The Bengals weren't totally inefficient. They were 6 of 13. They were 0 for 2 on 4th downs. Thank you for just going for it in some dumb situations that were there.
Well, and you got a quarterback who just could not determine which team to throw the ball to. I still, to this, even now, I don't understand the interception he threw in the end zone because there were no Steelers. There were nothing but Steelers there. There were no Bengals in the end zone. We thought he was throwing the ball away. We thought it up in the stands. Oh, he's just throwing it away. And they were like, what? It was an interception. Why did he throw that? Why did he do that? There were a lot of bonehead plays. That game, I don't think would have ended differently. I think the Steelers win that game regardless, right? But it could have been a much more competitive game if Jake Browning was not throwing 3, 4 interceptions. I don't remember how many. 17.
Jake Browning, 28 of 42, 66.7 completed. They didn't have Jamar Chase, of course.
Nope.
T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins 5 for 140 and a touchdown. Didn't even seem like it, right? And some of that not coming mostly against Levi Wallace because the Steelers with their hodgepodge secondary and linebacker core. 335.
Well, the one big play that T. Higgins had was Joey Porter Jr. passed him off and nobody picked him up.
Correct. Yes. Well, and that has a lot to do with having Eric Rowe playing safety, Patrick Peterson, who's not a safety, playing safety, and they did commendable enough. They made the splash plays where necessary. Let's see, 3 picks, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 3 times Jake Browning was sacked. But Jake Browning, he came into this everybody's starting to talk about, hey, you gave all this money to Joe Burrow. This guy was out there, threw for 335 in this game. He had 324, 2 touchdowns the game before, 275 with 2 touchdowns, 354 with a touchdown. He wasn't making the same level of mistakes. And the Steelers were able to get by with that, but they were able to get by more too because the offense actually supported or helped the defense that is completely banged up. And that's the reason why we said Dear Santa on this shirt. Remember, FOCO.com, Forever Collectibles, and lots of other cool stuff there. Like, oh, you know what? Hey, put me back on there. The bobbleheads. They make so many freaking bobbleheads.
My Troy Polamalu, there's a new Troy Polamalu Hall of Fame bobblehead coming out. I ordered that.
Yeah, it has the magnetic base on it. And in fact, it's kind of funny you mentioned that that's a pre-order. There's 123 of them, and
that's the one. Well, no, is that the one?
They're showing a different one in the video, but they got Troy right there. So yeah,
that might not be the one I bought. I don't remember which one I bought.
That's the stadium underneath it. You know what else? I know I'm like rambling here, but I showed you got the Acrisure Stadium snow globe.
It's a snowy village, except it's a snowy stadium.
And then the girlfriend got me this one. This is candle. Smells like a Steelers win. And I know it's great because I'm sitting there around some Bengals fans.
Let me just tell you something. Up until last week,
that candle would not have been
that
good.
candle stunk.
But yeah, let me get back to the feel good. The Mason, make him leave no doubts. Win this job. Like, you don't want to like leave speculation. Well, this guy wasn't really all that great, so we'll probably end up playing Kenny. But you got the preparation or whatever Tomlin's BS excuses where he could have put Rudolph in earlier. I think if Rudolph or Pickett, I'm not going to say they're going to win all 3 of those games, but if they win 1 or 2 of them, you're not in the situation that they're in right now. So it's a very feel-good moment for him to come out after all of the crap he took, for people to be doing at least 2 Mason Rudolph chants in-game, in stadium, loud, goosebumps. I felt so great for Mason. I mean, I feel a little more vindicated too, because I'm arguing with people for years and all the way up and through this game. Somebody said he was turnover prone. He's not turnover prone. Like, everybody makes some mistakes, but this isn't a guy, a pick here or wherever. He's at least 2 to 1. You want somebody that's turnover prone? Mitch Trubisky's turnover prone, right? And he had more of he just doesn't look. He didn't have those plays were there, and people are missing them. And all it took was for Mason to just set his feet and let it rip. And I think if he gets more repetition, there was another one that was missed with Kelvin Austin. Some people thought it was underthrown. I saw it live, and they're coming at me, and I thought there was pass interference on it. If you ask me, that was very blatant. Clear pass interference. Was it DJ Turner, if I remember correctly? I don't think it was.
I don't.
Yeah, I think it was DJ Turner. It never turned his head.
On the other side, I don't know who they are.
Grabbed him, never turned his head, anything like that. But for a guy like Mason that's been eating crap, that they bring in other guys over you, that he's been having to sit behind Ben. He didn't have the best cast and everything else that happened in that 2019 season, getting knocked out. Earl Thomas, which the Ravens are just artists at doing this, aren't they? There's like 6 quarterbacks they've hurt so far this year. And then you've got, and then you get benched for Duck Hodges, and you come back and you break a collarbone. And then you don't really play. You get like 1 game against the Lions where you get like, overnight notice. And he was talking about it. He brought his parents in, flew him in on a red eye, or his dad came. Not both of his parents came to that one. And then he got to play a game against the Browns with some backups. And that's not a whole lot of opportunity for him. But the other guy, I felt good for Eric Rowe getting to play out there. I think Patrick Peterson, he might be able to show that, hey, he might have a future as maybe a safety. The Steelers are going to need this help. Maybe they could get Minka back. We don't know Minka's whole situation yet with the injuries. Miles Jack should have had a pick, got a sack after not having one for a whole full season. Welcome back. You see 16 running around. You're like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
So there's going to need to be a lot more of that, because they're going to potentially bleed a lot of yards against the wide receiver group that is not missing players, with DK Metcalf, one of your favorite guys, coming out of. You wanted to take him like first overall if you would have had the first pick that year.
I want to go back in time and still take him first overall.
How the hell did that guy fall into the second round? That's all we kept talking about. He was just a physical, like a freaking nature. We know Jackson Smith and Jigba. We know Tyler Lockett's always been a favorite of mine in the fantasy leagues. So it's just a matter of, is Geno Smith throwing the ball? Geno Smith gets pressured. He's, journeyman type guy. Seahawks have struggled running the football, so they're going to have to put some clamps on the passing game. They just signed Jalen Smith, former Pro Bowler, but the professor made a great comment in the back rooms. You talk about Miles Jack and Eric Rowe and Blake Martinez and Jalen Smith, and you pair these guys and Patrick Peterson, and you're pairing them with Cam Hayward and TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick. You're like, I wish this was like 2019. You had been super excited about it, but now these guys might be a little more long in the tooth. But what a great set of redemption stories. Also, redemption for George Pickens. Everybody and their brother was throwing mud at this guy, just slinging at this guy for, not finishing plays, not playing hard. Can you doubt how hard he plays now? And it's a world of difference, though, when you got, we've said it's for the longest time, it's been a quarterback-driven league. Mason Rudolph was the 58th starting quarterback in the NFL this year, and that might even change too as the Broncos go to shut down Russell Wilson, as we heard of today, for contractual reasons, so they don't have to pay him another $34 million or whatever, and they're going to have Jarrett Stidham as their guy.
Did they decide they were going to do that?
Yes, they did.
I read speculation that they were considering it. but I didn't read that it was definitive.
I think it seems pretty definitive. Every single insider talk show and everything else. Although we did hear that, hey, Mason Rudolph is being given the starting nod. And I don't know, Tomlin said he has the ball to start the week.
Yes.
And I said, man, why put that pressure on that guy? And I think it's just you could back out of it if Mason doesn't produce. We've seen backup quarterbacks have a big game, and then maybe the Cinderella story's over, the glass slipper, where'd it go? We can't figure out who this fits to because it turned back into, the little peasant girl or whatever, cleaning the floors and whatever. The Cinderella turned into a pumpkin.
Peasant girl cleaning the floors.
Well,
You.
Okay, so she had to live with the
whatever. What is it? What do they call it? The hegemony, whatever, male dominated society or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember.
I mean, she was literally treated like dirt and had to deal with her cousins or whatever, stepsisters, or whatever it was.
The truth is, Cinderella, that was more of a female problem than it was a male problem. It wasn't the guys that were holding her down. It was those evil stepsisters.
That's what I said. The stepsisters and the mother there. They used to lock her.
I take it all back. It's not the male dominated culture. That's females being mean.
Yeah, well, that still reminds me of the Family Guy, the Blue Harvest Star Wars parody. And it's like, oh, hey, look, there's another woman in the galaxy. It's like, I can't stand her already. Lois, with the Leia and Mon Mothma analogies. Anyways, back on track though. Like, I'm not ready to just be like, oh, the same thing you were saying. Mason's the future, this and that. But he has a hell of a lot more multiple touchdown pass games over these 11 starts and whatnot. His percentage of having games like this better than even Mitch Trubisky. Definitely better than Kenny Pickett, who's only had 1 or 2 of them in 24 starts or whatever. I'm not totally out on Pickett, but when you look at the Steelers playoff picture and you got to see who gives you the best chance to win, because you want to win these games. And we know, I've seen this image, Brian, and I almost loathe it because it's overcomplicated. It's unnecessary for half the stuff that's on here, right? And this comes from, I think, at Steelers Landing. Sorry, I'm giving you a shout out, but you could have simplified this. We know the Steelers have to win out. They have to beat the Seahawks. They have to beat the Ravens. The Ravens just beat the tar out of the San Francisco 49ers. They may not have to play much for this last game. So the scenario is Steelers win out. Then 2 of the following must happen. Actually, it's not 2 of the following because one of these will happen unless there's a tie. The Colts and Texans have to lose a game. They play each other the final week of the season.
That one will happen.
That one of them will lose unless it's a really bad football game and it ends in a tie and it screws up the Steelers, which can happen. We remember the Chargers and the Chiefs years ago screwing the Steelers up. The Browns losing out to the Jets. Now, it's a short week, but and the Bengals. No, AFC North football could be funny, but I don't see it.
I don't see the bet. I said a long time ago, the Browns had the best path to winning out that anybody had because their schedule was the weakest schedule. They're not losing out. I mean, come on. I mean, I know the Jets just beat somebody this week, but who did they beat?
They almost blew it though against the
but they almost
Commanders.
lost. They're not good. Let's be real. They're not good. Aaron Rodgers is not coming back, and they probably would be even worse with Aaron Rodgers because he hadn't played all year. They're not good, and they're not going to beat the Browns. If the Browns lose that game, then our residence Brown fan has to jump off a bridge because there's no good reason for them to lose that game.
Yeah, your poor brother.
They're not going to lose to the Bengals, I don't think either. The Bengals are not good. But again, if there's a game they could lose of those two, it's probably the Bengals game. Why? Because AFC North football.
Hey, you brought it up, and I wanted to make mention of it. We talk about the different quarterbacking in the NFL and whatnot. Sam Howell. Since week 11, 53.2 pass rating, two touchdowns, 8 picks, 0-5 record as a starting quarterback with the Commanders. And remember, there were a lot of people that were on you and I about, they should go get Sam Howell. Maybe Kenny's no better than this guy. Kenny's not that turnover prone. Kenny's not delivering the ball in some key situations still too, but I'm not writing him off entirely. I think this is a fair point for Tomlin. Let's go through the rest of these scenarios. So the Bills and Jaguars need to lose one of each game, right? The Bills have the Patriots, And Dolphins and the Jaguars with a banged up Trevor Lawrence have the Carolina Panthers and Tennessee Titans.
Oh, that's who they almost lost to, wasn't it? No, somebody almost lost to the Panthers and then didn't. But maybe it was.
Yeah, you're throwing me for a loop because football lasted seemingly forever last week through the holidays. You had the Carolina Panthers, the Green Bay Packers survived 33-30 in that game. Yeah. Yes, and of course the Jets at the end too, 30-28.
Where's the Jacksonville Panthers game being played? Carolina or Jacksonville?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Let me look it up for you. Let's see, Jacksonville.
All right, so probably they don't lose that game. Although Bryce Young is now playing better than he was, the Panthers are playing better than they were. So
yeah, but hold on,
and Trevor Lawrence is hurt.
But hold on. Do you think how probable is it? Do you think the most improbable thing that's on here is the Steelers winning out? As opposed to 100%. The Bills or Jaguars dropping a game. That's the only thing we need to look at on this whole chart. We don't care about the Colts Texans. That's going to happen. One of them has to win the game that they play head to head. You would assume. The Steelers have to win out.
The Dolphins will need to beat the Bills. Here's the problem. The Bills are scary right now, right? The Bills are playing probably the best football that they've played all season. I've been watching Bills games because I enjoy watching Josh Allen and reminding myself that I said in the year that he was drafted that that's the guy I would draft if you're going to draft a quarterback. So I just like to remind myself of that. So I've been watching that a little bit of Bills, and the Bills are playing much better right now. Their defense is playing better. It's more unlikely to me that they lose a game than any of those other teams lose a game. I think the Jaguars certainly could lose a game. The Texans are going to lose a game, and probably the Colts are going to, lose a game. So those things could all very reasonable. Yeah. I don't think the Bills will lose out, but it is very possible that they lose to the Dolphins because the Dolphins game could still mean something to the Dolphins.
And if it does, that means that the Ravens and Steelers game might mean something to the Ravens, and that game being played in Baltimore. Yes. This is not the best scenario. So, I mean, you got a lot riding on what can Mason do. And what do you do, like, in this situation?
Before you go too much further into this, let's just look at this. Watch the team that went to San Francisco, right, and demolished the 49ers. Yes, it was self-inflicted by the 49ers to a great degree. A lot of tipped balls that could have gone either way that happened to bounce the Ravens' way. But they just beat the crap out of the 49ers, as it turns out, right? If that team has something to play for in Baltimore, and you think this Steeler team, regardless of whether Mason is the quarterback or not, is going to waltz in there and win, it could happen. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'll say it again. AFC North football. There's no earthly reason to think we won the first Ravens game.
Last year. Yeah, not even this year. Last year they go into Baltimore and needing to win and to keep things alive, and Kenny goes and does it, and they scrape out. It's usually a lot closer contested. See, that's where the fear is for me with the Seahawks game too. It's like, all right, familiar opponents with the Bengals. And the Bengals, that's why Pat Freiermuth was held in check, because he tore them up the first game. You have familiar foes. They picked
their poison, and then they got torched by George Pickens instead.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. You get another AFC North game like that, but we'll throw that out in the distance. I'm looking at like Seattle, and going forward, Mason gives you the best chance to win maybe this week. We don't know exactly where Kenny is in his recovery process, so that's my number one piece. If he's not healthy, I don't want a 70, 80, maybe even a 90% Kenny Pickett out there. I don't think it helps Kenny Pickett's development to play injured. I don't think it helps that he hasn't played for several weeks to just toss him out there. And he's only played with this new hodgepodge menagerie of an offensive coordinator, the two-headed monster that's Mike Sullivan calling plays and Eddie Faulkner doing whatever Eddie Faulkner does as an OC right now with a Matt Canada playbook. You may as well call it a three-headed monster, right? But we've seen that the plays that need to be made in order to give the defense some rest and not leave what's exposed for them. Who the hell's playing in the inside of the field for inside linebacker? They're down to like the 5th, 6th, 7th guys in the safety group. And that could be that could pose a lot of danger when you're dealing with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, all these tight ends. It sounds like Jalen Smith's going to have to be out there. Who's going to cover all the? They got 3 capable tight ends over there in Seattle. They don't have much of a run game. Their defense may be banged up. We may see Artie Burns and Devin Bush out there this weekend as well. So the offense might be able to pick and choose. But for me, for Kenny, I don't think it would be good experience. You're going to take him to 2 road games, potentially not healthy. With this, he's probably going to have a new offensive coordinator next year. I know that they're saying, I know they asked him, and he said he's ready to play. He's no talk of shutting him down. I'd shut him down. There's absolutely, look, we already know he's going to have another year next year. I don't know that he gets a full year depending on how he plays, but a new coordinator, 3rd year, guy that's on a rookie contract, 1st round quarterback. They've seen him, in the building right next door there, literally adjacent like a duplex with Pitt. And then think there's stuff there to develop. And he hasn't been 100% terrible. He hasn't put up the numbers. He's not a turnover machine. He really not even gets sacked all that much. So if you put him behind a better offensive line, you can see what he can do. But what are you really evaluating if he goes out there and he doesn't play well and I think it's bad experience for him. Let Mason go out there and do that. And then you're evaluating whether or not, I'm not going to say that Mason could be the starter next season, but you at least know that you could bring Mason back to be a capable second option that can help win you games.
So for does he have something to lose last week? I didn't think he did. This week, maybe he does, right? Mason resurrected himself to a certain extent last week. If he plays tight this week, because now he's looking like you never know. All that being said, I 100% agree with you. There is absolutely no reason to trot Kenny Pickett out there this week. The things you said about Seattle defense are valid, but this is also a defense that got pressure on the Eagles with their front, and the Eagles unequivocally have a much better offensive line than the Pittsburgh Steelers do right now. And they pressured that team. The Eagles only were able to put up 17 points against, or maybe only 14. I can't remember. Anyway, they lost to the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle.
Drew Lock.
Yeah, with Drew Lock.
A miracle final drive there. Yeah.
There is a very good chance that the offense is going to have a very difficult time in Seattle. It's loud, and it's going to be loud when we have the ball. They're going to have to go on silent counts. They don't communicate that well to begin with. The offensive line is still not completely in sync and makes mistakes. And they have a very good front. And this team has struggled against very good fronts. So I'm fine with Mason. I'd rather have Mason out there. Why? Because, as you said, if Kenny is not 100%, I don't want to put him at risk of anything. You need the healthy guy out there. And if Mason is the healthy guy, then Mason should play. I'll tell you what I don't want. I want Kenny active for the game because I don't want Mitch Trubisky anywhere near the field the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's where I was headed. At least Kenny as a backup option. If you feel it's must win and you need a spark and Mason's just not getting it done first half. But look at some of these numbers, though, Brian. Over the course of the Seahawks season. Now, they were, until that Eagles win 2 weeks ago on Monday night, they had dropped 4 games in a row. 2 to the Niners, 1 to the Cowboys, 1 to the Rams. In their games this year, they have given up 30, 31, 27, 13, 24. Oh, hold on a second. 30, 31, 27, 3, 17, 10, 20, 37 points to the Ravens, 26 to the Commanders with Sam Howell, 17 to the Rams, 31 to the Niners, 41 to the Cowboys, 28 to the Niners, 17 to the Eagles, and then 17 to the Titans. I'm trying to figure out what changed there, but they're only scoring 20, 20, 16, like change, you know what I mean? And the Steelers may be able to put a lid on this, so to speak, because the Seahawks, they're in the middle of the road as a passing team. They're 15th in the league with 229 yards passing, 29th with the run. Not very good, 90 a game. Defensively, they give up the 19th most against the pass and the 27th most against the run. So they're not a good run defense either. And guess what can help Mason Rudolph? let him only pass about 25-ish times, same type of situation. He could open up and keep those guys off you, and you let Najee and you let Jalen Warren handle the rock and then take it from there. And it's December football. That big play at the very beginning of the game, I can't go understated either.
No, it can't. It absolutely can't.
Because now they're playing from a position of strength. So I don't have a whole lot of complaints. My only thing I would say is roll with Mason. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You got to win both of these, and they're improbable to begin with. I don't know that it's the best situation for Pickett to be in unless Mason absolutely turns into the pumpkin and stinks. And if he doesn't, you're going to be looking at extending this guy. Trubisky's got to be out the door. We could talk about all the future woulda, coulda, shoulda, whatevers if they miss the playoffs. Okay, which seems like all likelihood that would be the path, but you never know. We had given all those scenarios would have been a lot easier. You could also say the same thing, coulda, woulda, shoulda, looking back on those last games with the 2-win teams. Defensively, the Steelers they're struggling, so they just got to make sure they bend, don't break. And by all means, the one thing that wasn't brought up, this was brought up a lot in the post game, and we talked about it on the old, iPhone or whatever. You got the Android. We were texting after that game. What was the thing we haven't talked about yet that we were pretty heavy engagedly taught? We were happier than a pig had slopped by this result of this game. But we're going to air some grievances. What's the number one thing that's missing that could still help this team out? Do you have a gander at it? Do you have a guess?
I don't remember. I didn't look at I'm not cheating and looking at my phone.
Oh, you're not going to go back and look. Well, I'm trying to see if I could find. Well, there's one of the two. Presley Harvin.
Oh God.
They're at the Colts, and Mike Tomlin doesn't take the 56-yard or whatever field goal or attempt. And I saw somebody actually defend, well, you don't want to get the kicking game out of sync. Harvin's still the holder. We speculated about that, but they've had Brad Wing in, and it didn't affect Boswell at all. They're kicking indoors and decided to punt the freaking football. This dude could have killed them multiple times if it wasn't for playing with the kind of lead that nobody if you took the over on this game, the over-under was 38 or 38 and a half, and the Steelers had almost all of that with 34. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't understand how many more chances, or that's the one that's been so inconsistent, and there needed to be a change. And I just hope special teams, when you have a bunch of backups also playing as starters, guess what? You got guys off the street now playing special teams. It might be hard to coordinate all that. So, Brian, thank you for joining me, my friend.
I'm always happy to join you, my friend.
You got a prediction for this one? I think they could beat Seattle in Seattle, but it's going to have to be – this game's either going to have to be tight, low scoring, or it's going to have to be high scoring. It's not going to be anywhere in the middle. It's not going to be another 34-11 type game.
No, I will tell you, I said at the beginning of the season when we did our preseason that this game was a loss, right? That's when I thought the defense was going to be unbelievable and great, right? And the offense was going to be exactly what the offense has been. But no, take that back. This is after preseason. We weren't even to the first game yet. We were looking at an offense. We were hyped up. The offense looks crisp. The offense looks like they can do some stuff. This is great. This is fantastic. I thought all those things, and I still said they're going to lose in Seattle. There are a couple of places that the Steelers go and play, and the hope of victory dies when they get there. One of them is Philadelphia.
Yes.
The other one is Seattle.
Used to be Oakland too, but no longer.
Yeah, they at least have won there more than once, right? What was it like? We looked at the Eagles when we were like, forget it. They haven't won there in 100 years, right? They've won one time in Seattle out of 8 tries. I don't feel comfortable saying they're going to win. Could they win? Sure. With the way this football year has gone, anybody can beat anybody at any time. The Eagles lost to the Jets. I mean, it's insane. This is as close to parity as the world has gotten in NFL terms,
and look,
right?
Yeah.
It just is. It's insane.
Look at Cleveland winning with Joe Flacco. Who would have ever thought that? The guy was sitting on the couch.
Yeah. It is absolutely possible they could win this game. It is absolutely possible they could win the game in Baltimore. Do I think they will? No, I think the conversation about the Steelers in the playoff probably ends this week, and not in a good way.
Negative Nancy. New Year's Eve, 4:30ish start, somewhere in the 4 o'clock window. And just the last, let me see. It is the Fox single window and in the red. For those of you who can see this, let me see if I can make this image just a little bit bigger on screen for everybody. So there's only one, there's not a Fox doubleheader. So if you're basically, in Western Pennsylvania, parts of West Virginia, some of Ohio, you're going to get this game. For everybody that's in the Bengals area, you will not.
Look at that blue near the PHL area. What stupid game am I getting, Dallas?
That's very likely. Let me bring it up on the actual 506 Sports site. Here we go.
Good
yeah,
thing I got that.
Arizona.
That
You got Arizona and Philadelphia.
Oh well, that makes sense. Why? Of course, I would get Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. And the Steelers one is the only of those games in that slate for the Fox window that's late. So if there is a Fox,
thank you
game,
Verizon for giving me free DirecTV, or not DirecTV, free YouTube Sunday ticket.
Nice for you. So yeah, that'll be fun trying to make sure you know where you're going to be at. I know a lot of people probably going to be their New Year's plans. This puts a wrench in it. It's like, of course, they got to play like a West Coast team in the late window. You know what I mean? So anyways, that'll do it for us, folks. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. Happy holidays to each and every one of you. Thank you for putting up with my voice.
One more thing.
Oh, yeah.
I gave the jersey away.
Okay. Yeah, I saw something.
So I'm not, because I don't feel like broadcasting, and blasting people's names out. It's one of the folks on Twitter had answered some of my Twitter questions that I put out there, and I DM'd them on Christmas Day and said, the jersey's yours. Happy Christmas. And so it's gone. It's on its way. I sent it out yesterday. I sent it out yesterday.
Wow, you're a good man. The post office crazy day after Christmas as it is in the lead up.
Nobody in there.
Nobody in there? Okay. Well, if you're looking for something to arrive in your mailbox, go over to FOCO.com. T-shirts. Hey, Santa, I didn't forget. It hasn't come yet. I need another Super Bowl. We need 7. That Stairway to 7 seems like it just goes forever, right?
If the Steelers get into the playoffs and win one game, I'll give away a helmet.
Okay.
I feel at zero risk from doing this.
Might as well just give your whole collection away. Just put it all
No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, he still won't do that, even though he feels pretty safe.
I feel pretty safe. But I got helmets that I was going to give away anyway, so I give one. Maybe I'll give a helmet away.
All right, folks. Before I lose my voice entirely and start coughing and everything, I've been just like chewing cough drops like Jolly Ranchers over here. Brian, this is for you, buddy. This comes from a good friend. Got me a positive potato. You need a positive potato as well. This is maybe a tiny potato, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. That's the way I felt about Mason Rudolph. That's the way I feel about the Steelers. Here we go. Sunday. Hopefully something more enjoyable to talk about. Yeah, okay, fresh sarcasm side. Till next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. We encourage everyone out there. It's New Year's now. Be safe. Don't be an idiot. Almost every town has like a free Uber, text, whatever program. Don't drink and drive, please. But be safe. Be good. And we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.